I really didn't expect to be making another of these videos so soon. 250 subscribers. I know that's not technically much in the world of social media, but that means 250 human beings saw the stuff I've devoted my time to work on and they went, yep, I like this, I'd be interested to see some more. 250 people is a lot of people in the real world. If we all got together in a room somewhere, we'd need a big hall. What I'm trying to say is I do feel blessed. And all the nice comments and compliments, and in ordinary life I'm really awkward with comments and I never quite know how to respond, so I think you've all been helpful in teaching me how to get better at responding to compliments and to show my gratitude, because I am grateful. Thank you to the lot of you. And I do read the comments, I take in what you say, I often reply, you already know that. But I remember, I try to make the effort to remember and recognise each of you, and what you say is more than a statistic, because, you know, you've made the effort to recognise me and my channel and the person behind it. So just to plug a few of you out: Ultrasonic Soul, Apple Chip, KK Freak, Sandra Agnelli, Rubbishy Username, Weeb Tendency, I love your adapted film quotes by the way, Olivia Peterson, what a comment you wrote on the Dead Pirate Society video, Jack Brady, Ruth Wamuka, Finn Devlin, Trin, Scream Watcher, obviously, although I guess I should call you, is it Rorid now? Anyway, that's just a few of you. I'm sorry if I haven't mentioned your name. This is turning into the sort of speech they give at the Oscars, isn't it? I was just trying to make the point that I take the stuff you all say to heart. And a special thank you to all of you who pointed out about the music being too loud in some of my videos, and a couple of other problems with editing and stuff. You know, my videos wouldn't have gotten better without you telling me that, and they won't continue to get better without further criticism, so thank you for that. The last time I did this I gave you a poem, so have another, a shorter one, plus a vague explanation of it afterwards. It's called Trusting. Sunlight is what opens the flower. It trusts there is a world worth opening to. Not for all of us. Some face suffering. All face suffering. It is not the end of the world. It is a part of it. It is a part that outweighs the light. They cannot be compared. They are not in conflict. You only are in conflict. Then it is my fault? There is no fault. Does the flower blame the winter for its death? No, of course not. It just dies. It just dies, without conflict, and lives through spring without conflict. It trusts there is a world worth trusting, not fighting against. So this is from a series of about 20 poems I wrote last year, maybe the year before, I don't know. They were all just short, calm, contemplative poems, some of them conversational like this one, and many of them quite spiritual, but I doubt many of you care to know my personal spiritual thoughts on life, so we'll skip those bits. Trusting is quite a straightforward poem, really, so maybe it doesn't need an explanation, because in essence the idea is simply that flowers are naturally meant to bloom. Human beings are naturally meant to bloom, to grow, to discover happiness, you know? And yet we spend so much of our lives stressing over it, like happiness is some rare creature to hunt down. If you ever watched Ed and Eddie as a kid, I love the show. Eddie labouring over all these ridiculous, complex schemes and scams just to try and get a jawbreaker, and wearing himself out in the process. Life is technically much simpler than that if you let go. You just let yourself bloom instead of all the stress and toil and worry, you know. Sometimes that's difficult though, because we find it hard to trust. Eddie would find it hard to believe he could live happily without need of jawbreakers. But this is a conversation poem. I like doing conversation poems because one side of an argument is never 100% right. There's always truth in both sides. And the other side is that life isn't that simple for everybody. You can't just open up like a flower, because some of us face a great deal of suffering and tragedy. And the first speaker responds again, all face suffering. Which is true, not always to the same extent, but we do. All of us, for example, are going to have to deal with our loved ones dying at some point in their lives. But the point is, suffering is not the end of the world, it's a part of it. You know, somehow we all get so caught up in the idea that every time we feel a bit sad, that must mean our lives have gone completely wrong, we've messed up somehow. Anyone who lived life well and correctly wouldn't ever feel sad, but, you know, of course they would, because sadness is a part of life. But that's all it is. You know, we just feel a bit sad, and yet we catastrophize it into this massive thing, like the whole world is falling apart, everything's crumbling down, and that catastrophe then makes the sadness feel even worse and more unbearable, and then you get a vicious cycle. But we're meant to feel sad sometimes. Sadness only truly feels unbearable when we're afraid of it, so it's best to not be, to just not be in conflict with it, not be in conflict with ourselves as we so often are. We're obsessed with the idea that things have gone wrong, life has been derailed, there's someone whose fault it is, normally ourselves, but what if there is no fault for when we feel down or depressed? You know, what if it's just like the winter? The winter comes and the winter goes. The flower knows that and doesn't blame the seasons or try to hold the winter back. It just blooms in the spring, then withers in the winter before blooming again with new seeds in the next spring. It lives without conflict because it trusts there is a world worth trusting, despite however much winter there might be. Sometimes I think we live our lives like stabilizers on a bike, or swimming. That needs to, like when you're learning to swim, to flail our arms and kick our legs hard and fast all the time to stay afloat, constantly treading water, wearing ourselves out. But no, you know, you learn to trust the water a little more, to relax and discover you can stay afloat without such intense flailing all the time. And riding a bike needs no stabilizers once you can trust your own balance. And I've ended up rambling a lot more about this poem than I thought I would, but I guess the title does encapsulate it quite nicely, actually. Trusting. You know, I wonder how much happier we'd all be if we could trust life and ourselves a little more. Trust that there is sunlight to open the flower, trust that there is a world worth opening to, and a world worth trusting instead of fighting against. Thank you for all your support though. I don't know if me releasing these little poems to celebrate milestones is something that actually interests you, so let me know. But I could do this every milestone we hit, assuming assuming we do keep hitting milestones. So yeah, let me know. Thank you for just being here. Yeah, that's a good way to say it. Thank you for being here, and hopefully see you next time.